All right, Pawpaw, Sammy, and Alley here. What I'm doing now is making frames for my beehives. I need to make a frame. This is part of the frame here, the end part, right here. I'm starting off making these. Hopefully, in the near future, I'll wind up with this. See? Put the top on it, bottom on it. And this is the end part. Now this is the part that takes so much time. The top, nothing. The bottom, quick. This is time consuming. You got to have so many of them. Now, here's what I'm doing. I set my table saw up and I adjusted this. So I take this, which is these ones I have cut. And when I say I cut a bunch of them, I got a bunch of them. All right, what I'm doing, the table saw is set. I'm running this down here, taking a little cut off the side and a little cut off the side. This is extremely noisy. That's why I don't do it with the cameras, with the saw going and the fan, because it's just too noisy. I'll catch you up in a minute. Pawpaw, Sammy, and Alley here again. I'm back where I was. Now I'm gonna go over this one more time. Well, this is scrap, but it's show and tell time. So what I did, I took 2x4s to the right length, and that's the right thickness, and I sliced it. And I made these bunches of them. All right, translated what these are is the end of your frame. Let me show you. This is the end pieces, as I showed you a while ago. End piece for your frame. Now, I customized these heavy for two reasons. I cut them thin, the same thickness. You see how it gets wide and thin. I did do that on my table saw. But when I got here, I eliminated a notch, no notch. On the bottom, I eliminated a notch, no notch. Okay. Also, on my top bar, I eliminated 1 notch, 2 notches, 3, 4. Now, if you hit set, and on the bottom, it's the same thing. I eliminated a notch and a notch. So, if you had the right tools set up, and they do have machines you can buy, and you just feed the lumber and it spits it out, basically. But in my case, hand tools, time is important. So what I did was, I eliminated this notch and that notch, but by eliminating the notch, I had to shorten my piece by about, I'm guessing a 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Okay. More than that, I had the wrong piece. I shortened it by 3/4 of an inch. And the reason being, instead of cutting notches on the bottom, I slide it in. Instead of cutting notches on the top, I come in here like this. See? And when I nail it with my nail gun, there it is. I have got my frame, but I have eliminated a massive amount of work on all these notches. And when you get it all together, it is exactly the same dimensions, tall and wide. Exactly the same thing. It's just I eliminated all those notches. It's just too much work doing it by hand. Now, I'm gonna make these two. I'm gonna nail them up with my gun because it takes a lot of noise and I don't want to do all that with the family. So, I'm gonna nail this one up and make up this one. And then I'll take it and show you how to weave it with the string, how to put your foundation in it, and you have your frame ready to go. Okay. Now that the noise is off, I can finish. It's all been nailed together. It is exactly the same dimensions as the old one. It's just I eliminated all the notches. Now, instead of taking and notching this little thin piece on the bottom, see the little groove in it? The top is not bad to groove because it's big enough you can kind of handle it through that saw. What I do is when I'm working, a lot of times I'll trim off something like this, a 1/16, an 1/8 of an inch. So what I'll do is I'll come right here and I'll take my little play toy and I'll snap this on right there. Now, the reason I do that is for this. Look, here's your beeswax. All right, it'll sit right down there and fit. It's a perfect fit, see? Fits against the bottom, and that's not in the groove on top. If you can slide it up in that groove, it's a perfect fit. Now, the one thing I forgot to do, believe me, and I'll show you why, is put the holes, drill the holes. And the reason I like to do it before I put it together, this way you got to drill. But if you take 4 or 5 or 6 of these and take your drill and pop holes. So you're drilling through 4. You're drilling two holes, but you're drilling, actually doing 8. Saves a lot of time. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up on that right now. You don't have to measure. I mean, you can be exact. Personally, I take my drill and just find the spot. One hole. 2 holes. Flip it over and do the same thing. And I don't measure. I just figure, guesstimate, that's close enough. And that, other than putting your string through these holes and your foundation in, is complete. I'll set the string up and show you how that's done. Okay, now here's my fishing line. That's 20 pound monofin. A lot of people use worm. I used to be quite a fisherman in my day. So what I figured out was, use what you got. Now there's 2 or 3 ways you can do this. You can crisscross it, go through this hole, and come back through this hole, or you can just go straight, come around the end and go straight. All right, when you get it to the last hole over here, you take it, always just tie a knot in the end. All right, knot it off where it can't get loose. My old fingers don't work like they used to. There's something about nubbing your fingers, cutting half of them off and breaking the rest of them. It does make them hard to use sometimes. Oh, dadgummit. Now, I'll eventually get that rascal tied, I hope. All right, there it is. Cut off the excess. Quick story. I made these years ago, put it in a beehive. What happened was, apparently the string come loose inside the hive on the frame. For the last 3 or 4 months, a piece of the string being hanging out the front of the hive, about 2 inches, and every day there's a half dozen bees pulling that string trying to get it out the hive. I started to take it out and fix it, and I said, no, they're having too much fun. I ain't gonna bother them. Anybody having that much fun should be left alone. Now, here we go. I always make a wrap. And the reason being, you never know if it's going to slip or not. Also, I'll do this. I know it's not going to slip. Now, sound like a banjo. I always try to knot it up because really, them poor little bees have been trying to pull that out of that hive for the last 6 months. Now, here is your finished frame. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take this foundation, and you can go in and put the whole foundation strip in, like I showed you. Slip it into the groove, it'll drop down on this. When it drops down on that right there, take your little trusty weapon and just, one on each end where it'll stay put, and the string will hold it in the middle. See? Now, that completes this. Oh, and I'll tell you what you can do. I've seen it did. You can cut these in thirds. Cut a 1/3 and a 1/3 and slip it up in the groove, the top groove. It will not cover the whole frame, but it will give you a 1/3 starter strip. I've seen them cut it in 4s. The bees just need something to start, and they'll do the rest. They'll take care of it. Now, this is going to be a long process. So hopefully I'll give you an idea of what, when, and where. And the next, what I'm making here is going to wind up being a 2-frame nuke. I'm going to breed hopefully a bunch of queens this coming summer. And I'm going to wind up, I hope, with 8 or 10 or 12 hives instead of 4. But this is basically what you do. Like and subscribe.